The Harry Potter fandom is divided on many things, and one of the biggest is when it comes to Severus Snape and James Potter.
My father was a great man.
Your father was a swine.
I'll just go through a brief synopsis of how their relationship went. In their first interaction on the train to Hogwarts, James, along with Sirius, made fun of Snape and gave him the nickname Snivelus. James and Snape went at it a lot during their school years. James ended up saving Snape's life when he came face to face with the werewolf Remus, and James put him back at the last second. Snape did not see it that way though. He thought that James was just saving himself and his friends. During their 5th year, James and Sirius attacked Snape because they were bored, and this ended in Snape calling his best friend Lily a mudblood, effectively ending his relationship with her. Snape would end up being in love with Lily for the rest of his life. James matured a lot over the next year or so, and Lily began to date him. Snape and James still went at it from time to time, but behind Lily's back. When they graduated, Snape became a Death Eater, and James became a member of the Order of the Phoenix. Snape overheard and told Voldemort about a prophecy which was about his master and a baby. He told Voldemort about this, but he regretted it immediately because he found out that it was Lily's baby. Snape went to Dumbledore to ensure their safety, but James and Lily put their faith in Wormtail, who betrayed them, and Voldemort killed both James and Lily. When their son Harry came to Hogwarts, Snape hated him and picked on him. However, he did protect him throughout his whole first year. Then, when Voldemort returned, Snape honored Lily by becoming a double agent, which eventually got him killed. When Harry discovered Snape's true allegiance, he named his son after Snape and said he was the bravest man he'd ever known. Now that we have some background, let's find out who is worse, James Potter or Severus Snape, according to you guys. Before we really jump into it, I just want to say, if you enjoyed this video, please consider liking and sharing. It will greatly help to grow and sustain the channel. And if you like what you see, hit that subscribe button, and you can also follow me on all of my other social medias, all of which are linked down below, and all of which house similar content that I make here on this channel.
Here we are.
So a while back, I made a poll asking who they thought was worse, James Potter or Severus Snape, and 143,000 people voted on this. And we have 1,846 comments, many of which we are going to dive into today.
Brilliant.
So when I first posted it, the poll was actually pretty close. Like, at one point, it was 50-50.
What's going on in there?
Nothing.
So the second comment says, why is James Potter in the wrong? And by the way, first. You're not, you're the second, but... So another one of the first people said, bro, how is this a debate? It's easily James, saying that James is more in the wrong. Let's look at some of the replies. Not really, Snape's a little bitch that never grew up and held a grudge on James's son. Really? A school bully trumps a man who committed horrible crimes by joining Voldemort's ranks and then proceeded to become a teacher and constantly bully students just because he could. Yeah, what James did doesn't sound so bad anymore. Was James a dick? Yeah, but he seemed to have matured. Otherwise, I'm convinced Lily would not have married him. This person says it's so split, which really shows how close it was in the beginning. One was a Nazi, one was a stuck-up posh boy who bullied Nazis. Wow. I'm trying not to give too much of my opinions in this video. I just want to focus on what other people said because obviously I have very strong beliefs, which you know if you've watched my channel. I'm not going to put any of that in this. Okay, so this also shows how close it was. At a little under 500 votes, it was at 50-50. All right, so here we go. We have the actual percentile here. 52% versus 48%. I don't have to write it again. Everyone in the comments has put it perfectly. But the amount of Snape Ultra fans is crazy. Even in Movie Flame. I would get it from other places, but not on one of the 2 biggest and smartest HP channels. Appreciate that. But yeah, my comments are wild, dude. Like, there's hate against me. There's hate against characters. Mostly hate against me, to be honest, but comes with the territory. This person says, movie Snape is the best, then James, and then book Snape. James was a bully, Snape was a terrorist. Now, how the hell is James winning this like his Quidditch match? So if James is winning it, I think at that point, that meant that James had more votes, saying that James was more in the wrong, which is interesting. WTF, who voted for James? Let's see what the reply is. Me. Saying the bully grew out of it is hilarious because bullies don't have to live with the trauma. In the school years, Snape was the victim while James was the tormentor. It's 100% in the books. James died protecting his child. Snape died protecting Draco.
What?
Snape wouldn't have terrorized the kids if James didn't bully him when they were kids. Let's see what somebody replied to that. Still not an excuse. Cannot believe this is this close. People are blinded by Alan Rickman. That is an interesting point. Alan Rickman did play Snape brilliantly, and I think made viewers love Snape more than you would have if you read the books. But again, I'm not trying to put my opinions in here, but I will say that Alan Rickman's portrayal of Snape definitely swayed some people. Okay, so those were the early comments. Now we're gonna go to the top comments.
At last.
The top comment says, James was a kid bullying another kid. Snape was an adult bullying kids. 275 replies. Let's see what we got. Perfectly put. A bully still is a bully no matter how many victims.
Great work.
All right, this one's interesting. What is wrong with you people? James literally relentlessly bullied Snape, humiliating him. Snape becoming a Death Eater was made by James, as he wasn't a racist before he went to school, telling Lily that it didn't matter she was a Muggle-born. Then, after she died, he dedicated his life to protecting Harry. Snape is 10 times, did you hear that? 10 times the man that James was. Let's see, I'm excited to see what this reply was. Absolute rubbish. James was good and a hero. You know, comments like yours make me realize that perhaps it will be much better if there was a prequel centered around James Potter being the main/central character in a story about either the Potter family or the Marauders.
Well, we're waiting.
His idea of standing up to bullies was to invent his own murder spell. I think they're referring to Sectum Sempra. A reply to this is how many people, I think she meant react well to being bullied. So I guess they're saying that making Sectum Sempra was valid because James bullied him.
Right, I'll leave you to it.
I don't want to hurt McGonagall. You might be in the wrong comment section there, dude. Okay, so this one is another interesting one. I think it kind of brings up James's backstory plus Snape's backstory. Most of the comment sections say Snape was more in the wrong because he bullied children, whereas James turned over a new leaf. But what Snape did is quite expected, seeing as he didn't have loving parents, was bullied for nearly his entire school life, humiliated in front of the school, and etc. It's quite normal for people who develop PTSD to hold grudges for a long period of time. Okay, so they are saying that Snape had PTSD from the bullying that James inflicted on him. And then they go on to say that although it definitely did not justify taking it out on other children, especially Harry, we need to understand that Harry just looks so much like James that Snape just couldn't help but feel hate and resent when looking at Harry. So I guess now they're arguing that because he had PTSD, that PTSD came up when he saw Harry because he looked like his bully, which makes it valid that he bullied Harry.
Mental, that one. I'm telling you.
It goes without saying, James was nothing but a bully. Severus was able to love someone 18 years after she was long dead and gone. Someone all the more that betrayed him in the worst possible way, smirking while he was tortured by his bullies. What they're referring to there is that when James had Snape upside down, Lily had a little bit of a smirk when he was upside down. And then they go on to explain that more. His heart was infinitely brave, the only one capable of an eternal love. James would never. All caps.
Who could possibly figure that out? That's completely mental.
Here is a good one. If Neville was the chosen one, Snape would still be Voldemort's right-hand man, unless Bellatrix ended up torturing Lily to insanity. That would be a plot twist. Okay, so here's another interesting one. It's worded kind of in a weird way, but everyone's saying that adult Snape is worse than James. We don't know if this is true, as James could have been bad when he became more of an adult. So what they're saying here is that had James grew up as Snape did and gotten older, it's a possibility that he would be a bad person. We've actually seen a lot of Snape defenders in this comment section so far. I will never be tired of commenting and fitting this, but James and Snape had a rivalry, not a bully/victim relationship. So I guess what they're saying is that James was not in the wrong and Snape was not in the wrong. They were just two boys fighting, boys being boys, I guess you could say. It's easy for a bully to stop bullying. It's way harder to move on after being bullied. Snape had a really bad life as a kid, and there was only two things he loved, Hogwarts and Lily. James took both of them. It's almost impossible to just move on if you have nothing to live for.
The more you care, the more you have to lose.
James became good afterwards, so it's alright. Well then, Snape is good too. He was helpful at the end as well after all. Okay, so there's a lot to unpack there, but basically what they're saying is that if James had been a better person, Snape would have been a better person. Then they kind of talk about how everybody's saying that James is in the right because he stopped bullying. That is questionable to him. And on top of that, he says that if that's the case for James, then that should be the case for Snape as well, because in the end, he became good, which is actually a pretty valid point. I feel like a lot of people in this comment section have been saying, but James got better. But yeah, I guess Snape did as well, so.
That was clever, Ron.
That's been known to happen.
Okay, so at the end of the poll, we have 38% of people saying that James was more in the wrong, and 62% of people saying that Snape was more in the wrong. So it's pretty close, honestly, and as we saw in the beginning, it was really close, like 50-50, and I think at one point James was even more in the wrong. So yeah, this was an interesting experiment, I guess you could say. I made this and I always knew that I was going to make a video going over the results. Did I expect there to be 143,000 votes on this? No. Did I expect there to be 1,846 comments to go through? No. Did I go through all of them? Absolutely not, but I think I covered most of the juicy stuff. Overall, there's some people saying that Snape was a Death Eater, a terrorist, a Nazi, whatever they want to call him, so that makes him worse. Then there are other people saying that James Potter was worse because he was the person that made Snape the man he was through the bullying. Then there are also some other people saying that they're both in the wrong, or neither of them are in the wrong, they just have a rivalry. This was interesting though, because there are a lot of people that are passionately defending Snape. Like, I feel like the people that defended Snape were putting points that they were much more passionate about than the people that were defending James. And honestly, like, everyone has a different life experience, man. If you've been bullied in your life, you might be more likely to veer towards Snape. And if you haven't been bullied before, you kind of lean toward James. It's up in the air though. They've both done a lot of questionable things, but I'm not going to give my opinion, but I do want to hear what your opinions are. Let me know in the comments below what you think of these comments. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.